Welcome to the expansion of consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Medlock, and tonight we will have a wonderful guest, Chloe Love. She is a world-renowned channeler. She is a spiritual coach, a Reiki master, galactic energy master. She does a whole lot of healing, a whole lot of love, connecting, channeling for different clients, working with people who have different types of problems they're dealing with. She's a master. But let's start off with what is love? When we feel love, we awaken as love. When we feel fear, we give into the illusion of separation. We are source love incarnated. All of us, every tree, bee, human, cat, pig, Arcturian, Lyran, Seraphim, and many, many more beings of love. Through the power of love, our true essence is awakened. Chloe Love, the channeler, the healer, the author, and the creator, will take us on a journey of the channeled history of the creation of Earth and Earth life. From the time of the Griffins, the Phoenixes, and the harmony to now. Chloe Love, the spreading of creation through the remembrance of love. And without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring Miss Chloe Love on the set with us right now. How are you today, Chloe?
Thank you again for having me. I'm happy to be here. How are you?
And for those who don't know, Chloe has been on the show a few times over the years. She's my spiritual coach, teacher, mentor, whatever you want to call it. But she works with people all over the country, all over the world. She's been to numerous different locations, blending and blending her spirit and her soul in with nature. Chloe's an animal communicator. There's so many things I can say about you, but I'm just going to let you talk about yourself. And we've already established, how you started this journey. Can you just talk to us about different things that you've been working on for the last few years or so that you could share with the audience?
So I'd be happy to. Thank you for your kind introduction. So over the past several years, I have learned many different energy healing techniques, received a lot of different energy in meditation. For instance, you can go to different planes, different dimensions, or even hidden locations on Earth, as in hidden from mainstream society, to receive incredible energy healings from various beings. As well as when you go into meditation, you can access pretty much unlimited information, but you'll only receive the information that you're ready to hear, that you're ready to receive. And so over the years, as I meditate and connect more and more information is revealed and the channeling increases, which is just really an incredible journey. And so I feel really grateful to be able to experience this and then share this with an audience. This is the first time that I'll be speaking more publicly about some of the information revealed through channeling of the history of Mother Earth.
And this is special because you're not the average content creator. You just mentioned that I don't always speak publicly about my work. You work in private with a number of clients. You may come on every now and then and maybe put out a meditation or some sort of healing message of love. I'm really glad that you decided to come on the expansion of consciousness. And Chloe, your work emphasizes the spreading of creation through remembrance of love. Could you elaborate on what this remembrance looks like and how it can be cultivated daily?
Of course, I'd be happy to, and thank you. Yes, I'm very careful about the information that I share for many different reasons. But I follow my higher self and intuitive guidance for when information is meant to be shared and when it's not divine timing yet.
Yeah.
And in terms of the remembrance of love, In truth, love is the essence of life. Without love, life literally cannot exist. True creation is founded with true, pure, unconditional love. What I mean by this is that creations that are fear-based or illusionary, they don't have a basis for true life, and so they can only sustain to a certain degree, and they sustain at a cost. Whereas true life, for instance, earth life, is not sustained at a cost. Only fear and fear-based things are sustained at a cost. And so the remembrance of love is really the remembrance of self. And when you remember the true essence of love within you, you feel this just abundantness of life and love and energy, and just this experience of bliss and feeling one with all. And so this remembrance just basically brings you back to the true essence of your being, which then boosts your intuition, helps you to feel truly aware of yourself, to awaken your natural abilities.
So I know that a portion of our program that we're having today will be channeled. And for those of you who do not know, some of the highest rated shows on expansion of consciousness in season 1 and season 2 have been the clothes that Chloe Love has come on, and she's channeled, a number of different beings, the higher self, and she's spoken directly on the show. So I'm gonna let you cue me on when we want to start that. I have another question to ask you, but you just let me know when we're ready to, get into that point. But you speak about awakening as love when we feel love. What practices do you do or do you recommend to individuals who struggle to connect with this feeling amidst their busy lives every day?
Spend time away from the busyness of the thoughts. So, for instance, there should be dedicated time every day that you can engage with analytical thoughts, as well as dedicated time where you release those and are present. So, doing grounding exercises is very beneficial. It doesn't always have to be very intricate. It could just be spending some time, even 2 or 3 minutes outside, and just focusing on your breath, putting away your phone, not holding anything of technology, and just focusing on your breath, maybe looking at the trees, noticing the sounds of nature, like the songs of the birds, paying attention to the sky, just basically bringing yourself into the natural present moment. But being able to feel more of your feeling self versus the thinking self is really important. So the same way that people dedicate time for analytical work, it's just consciously dedicating time for basically feeling. In essence, feeling is a more complex, as well as I would say, pure language than speaking verbally. What I mean by pure is that through feeling, there's no way of miscommunication. Feeling is very obvious, it's very complex. Most people have forgotten how to feel in complexity because they suppress their emotions. So that's why dedicating time just to feel and just to be present is really important, as then you are able to be in touch with yourself, which naturally brings gratitude, which can bring the feeling and experience of love. And love is much more than just a base feeling. It's very complex. It is the life force that sustains us. Like, pure love energy is life force. It is basically, think of it like the building blocks of life force, kind of like how water is the building blocks for the physical body portion. Love is the building blocks for life force.
And I can remember when I was a student, and from time to time, ladies and gentlemen, I will call Chloe for lessons or for sessions, But I can remember when I was a student and we were going through just the essence of love, and that when you infuse love in the heart space, along with allowing yourself to feel, that's the most powerful connection that you can have to allow yourself to be able to work in different spiritual modalities. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, having a foundation of just experiencing your true essence, which is love based, then allows you to naturally be open to all different modalities that resonate with you and gains access to your abilities. One very simple method of connecting to the energy, the essence of love, is just putting out your hands, just taking a few deep breaths, and just saying either in your mind or out loud, I call upon pure, unconditional love. And then
Mm.
that's it. And then just relaxing. And a lot of times people feel tingles in their hands or warmth or different sensations. And then you can just put your hands on your heart chakra and just ask for the love to be received by you. You can even say within yourself, I open myself to receive and to feel this pure, true love. Um, but in terms of different modalities, it really just flows with your essence. It's not by force. A lot of times people try to think their way into spirituality or think their way into accessing their true selves, but the thinking is what's preventing them from truly accessing, the trying too hard, the desiring it too much. In manifestation, you do have like a pull towards it, but it's different from like an extreme desire. It's different from trying to force it to happen. Manifestation, including manifesting the opening of your abilities and the access to different modalities, happens when you set the intention, when you feel relaxed, when you feel open, when you connect to love, when you connect to your essence, and then you let go. So it's really just basically like two steps. It's surrender to love and then just be open pretty much, which is in essence surrender. So in essence, it really is just one step, which is surrender, which is releasing, letting go, basically like merging in a way to love. And that's based on your intention truly. In the same way that you can choose to make yourself like a tea or something in the morning, you can actually choose to experience and feel the essence of your being. It's just trusting in your ability to do so and allowing yourself to do so. Like, imagine how difficult it would be even to just boil water for tea if you were trying to force yourself so hard, where you were trying to force your like hands to move, when you were overthinking every little step. You would forget, you might have so much tension that you'd knock over the teapot, like things would go wrong. But when you just know what your intention is, you can naturally follow it and be guided. And then you can also learn from others, but you can only learn from others if you're open to feeling within yourself.
And that is so beautiful. It reminds me of the lessons from the 12 archangels. Belinda Womack, who's the author of that book, and she talked about fear, and she talked about the archangel Michael. Source allowed the archangel Michael to create fear, so that when we incarnated, we would have the illusion that we were separated from Source. So the concept of fear lending to an illusion of separation is really, really profound. So how do you suggest that one can begin to dismantle this illusion of fear and embrace this unity we have with consciousness?
Yes. So, in essence, fear itself is an illusion. And the first step is recognizing that's illusion. A lot of people take fear very seriously and they believe in it the same way
Mm.
that they might believe in being truthful or, being kind towards others. They'll believe that fear is a necessity in life, that it's something healthy, that's something normal. They don't treat it necessarily as a lesson, or they run away from it. Fear is a lesson that is illusionary. What I mean by that is that the lesson itself is not illusionary. It helps us to come back to a state of remembrance of our truth. But the fear itself is illusionary because it was created and designed, in essence, to basically help us to grow and to come back to ourselves. But it gets a little bit more complex than that because it wasn't introduced on Earth on positive terms. Like, fear was not introduced on Earth just to be a simple growing lesson and experience for humans. It was much more in depth than that, which I'll go into the channeled history of things soon. But
Exactly.
basically, like, recognizing that fear is an illusion, and then coming back to yourself. And every time you experience fear, instead of trying to run away from it or trying to control it, figure out the root. Why? What is this fear trying to tell you? How do you overcome this fear? And also recognize it's illusionary so that it doesn't take control of you. Kind of like when you're watching a show, you know that that show is not your life right now. So you
Right.
might feel emotions with the show, but the emotions will have like a cutoff point because you know that that's not your life. So it's kind of like that. The fear is the illusion. It's like a game. It's a play, and you'll get involved and invested in it, but do not take it so seriously that you forget that it's just a play.
And I want to warm the audience up because I want them to hear you talk and answer questions. Because when we go into the channeling phase of this, I've done it with you live before. I just want people to know there's a clear difference than when you're channeling and we're just we're sitting here answering, just talking a little bit. So I'm gonna ask you one more question, and if you're comfortable, if you're ready, we can go into it, the channeling session of the message that you have. But you know, some people listening to the show may not quite understand what channeling is. Some of them do. You likely experience various energies and entities as a channeler. Can you share a particular transformative experience of channeling that deepened your understanding of source love?
Yes. Honestly, there's many, so it's kind of hard to choose just one, but I will share one that stands out. It's the first time that I really connected and I really saw like my true essence of self
Yes.
without all of the things that I've adapted to in human society and human life, like all basically without all the illusions and the full remembered embodied love self. And when I first saw and experienced the self, it was just it was just wow. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, when I just experienced this self, it just reminded me of how when something is true and when something is pure, there's no questioning it at all. Like, there's no doubts, there's no fear, there's no overthinking, there's nothing except for just bliss and awareness and love and trust, just like this very strong feeling of trust and safety and knowing that everything is in alignment, like everything has meaning, everything has purpose, and that nothing is like an accident, nothing's a mistake. And it's just this feeling of just like, wow, like everything is truly okay. Yes, there's pain, yes, there's suffering, but we already have all the knowledge we need to overcome it. It's just remembering, allowing ourselves to remember that knowledge. We already have it. We already have all the power we need to change the world back to a state of full embodied love. But it's just remembering this. And so experiencing my true self, like for the first time in this life, really experiencing this self just was this feeling of everything's all right. Like everything is truly all right. And that was really beautiful. So I had some other experiences I would say were a lot more vivid, maybe like interesting in a way, because I was connecting with different beings. They were talking through me. I felt really interesting sensations. One sensation I felt a couple of times that was really unique was that when I was channeling people's higher selves, I would feel as if I was a stone wall. What I mean by that is I didn't feel like, oh, I'm in between a stone wall, I'm being squished. It wasn't like that at all. I felt so dense, like so dense and almost like this vibrating feeling, but it was almost as if like the denseness was just so extreme that I felt like this slight vibration throughout my body. And I felt so not really heavy, but very dense. And as I was talking, I wasn't even paying attention to the words I was channeling. Both times that happened the most intensely, I was channeling with clients and I was not thinking at all what was being said. I was just focusing on the sensation. And the sensation was like, I didn't really have room or the ability to think too much. It was a feeling as if I was a wall made out of stone, a very thick wall, like not in the stone, but as
Right.
the stone. And then experiencing different beings. So beings can channel through me, and I can also channel through them. So flying is amazing. When I've channeled into beings that fly, that's been definitely a highlight, I would say, just because it feels so free, especially when they're very lightweight. You don't really feel the resistance of the air too much. It's really amazing. Insect vision, absolutely incredible, very unique depending on the insect. I loved looking from the perspective of a yellow ladybug. Probably one of my favorite visual experiences because it was so different. It was kind of like HD, but it didn't have, it was very intense, color-wise very bright, but not a lot of color contrast. There was only a few colors that the yellow ladybug saw, but they were all very intense. Yet it was almost like slightly blurred, yet very almost like HD. HD is usually very clear, but it was so bright and intense, yet slightly blurred a lot of things. So that was really remarkable. So every experience had something unique about it. It's really based upon what someone finds interesting, I would say.
So that's wonderful. And for those who are in the audience wondering, like, wow, yes, when you are channeling through different beings, you are actually in their essence. You can actually, you're able to see exactly what they're experiencing and their emotions and everything. So the treat for you guys tonight is some of the same things that Chloe was speaking of, but now she's going to talk to you directly about the history of the Earth's creation. She will talk to us about the early days of life on Earth. And I mentioned earlier, she's going to be speaking about the times of the Griffins and the Phoenixes. And this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I would say to you to go ahead and settle in and really, really listen to Chloe Love's interpretation of this beautiful world that we live on. So, Chloe, whenever you're ready, you have the floor.
Well, thank you. So I'll be channeling Mother Earth consciousness to speak through me and share some of the history of Earth. It will not include all of the history, and some things will be left out entirely. The reason for this is because a lot of information is intentionally suppressed, not by the beings, but here on Earth by, when I say the beings, I mean positive beings, but here on Earth by either negative beings, negative energies, or people who have been basically enslaved by fear in a way. And so certain information is just not really safe to say, honestly, for channelers in general. And so certain information will be left out, but Mother Earth will share any information that is safe and of benefit. And it'll still be interesting and still be different than what a lot of people may have already heard or known about. But I hope that you enjoy.
All right.
The essence of life is full of magic. Magic is not separate from life. It's not separate from wonder. It is not separate from the future. It's not separate from technology either. Magic is infused within life. There is light magic and there is dark magic. The foundation of Earth is light magic, which is founded on love. Dark magic has a cost because it is not independent on itself. Dark magic comes from fear-based energies, very low energies. So it needs a cost that comes from the love side, because otherwise it literally cannot work, as it is not independent on its own, as magic in its essence is love-based. So dark magic is the manipulation of life, basically giving life to even out the cost of pretending to do magic in a way. It's very illusionary. But remember, in essence, life is sustained in love, and life is very powerful and flowing and joyous and kind. The creation of Earth was one that was filled with love and kindness. Earth was meant to be somewhat like a spaceship, but natural, not influenced by the elements around. Truly, it was independent of this. Earth was created in the 3D in order to change and help evolve the other planets and places and beings of the 3D. The 3D has a lot of polarity and has a lot of negative influence. A lot of planets are split up into portions of light and darkness, and these light and darknesses are fighting themselves and fighting each other. In essence, light and darkness are meant to be harmonious, not meant to fight. And they do not fight until the element of fear is introduced. Light and darkness only fight when there's fear introduced. Without fear, they are naturally in harmony with one another. The same thing happened on Earth, although originally Earth was mostly light, but there has to be a little bit of dark. There was not very much, though. In essence, light was abundant on Earth about 22 to 23 out of 24 hours a day. And then there was a little bit of physical darkness. The sun moved differently as it was distributed differently. There's two sources of light. There's the outer sun, and then there is what some people consider to be an inner sun, but it's a separate source of light that just exists within inner Earth, which is a very real, very powerful place that has been blocked off for its own protection. Although in the beginning, inner Earth was open through the North and the South Pole, and because they were open, the energy and the light within the center of the Earth was being shown outwards through these two almost like portal openings, entrances. They were kind of like tunnels, they're cylindrical, but they didn't function the same way. Light would come through and it wouldn't decrease in intensity. Now, for instance, let's say you're shining a flashlight across a field. At some point, the intensity decreases the farther you go. But the light source that is within the Earth does not decrease in intensity as it goes up, and it does not need to either, as the intensity is perfectly balanced. So it's not too hot, it's not too much for eyes or ears or skin or anything like that. So all of Earth was always warm for quite some time. When we say warm, we do not mean overly warm, not like molten lava, although there was lava, which was very important, but it was just temperature-wise warm to the touch. So everyone felt comfortable and did not need thick fur or thick scales, although many beings did have scales at one point. In essence, many call them dinosaurs, but this is not the language that we used to use. The ancient language is one of telepathy, which is feeling, and closely they could be called almost like the sound that Z makes in the alphabet instead of the word dinosaur, but it's a little different as it's an energy frequency, it's an energy vibration, it's not a word. But these beings had a little bit of fur, sometimes scales, sometimes quite a bit of scales, but never too thick, as they didn't need it for protection. They were very kind to one another at the beginning. They were not carnivorous. Only later dinosaurs, many of which have been discovered, became carnivorous because of the fear virus. The fear virus happened because, in essence, there was great manipulation. When we say great, we just mean a lot of, almost like the word abundance. Great does not mean good. Great, we view the word to be a lot of something. And when this happened, Earth was no longer protected in the same way. And things started to shift. Many parts became very cold because inner Earth was the last to remain protected. This was so that it would be easier to harmonize Earth once the time came. But first, certain beings who had been tricked and manipulated had to come out from hiding. And this is only happening now. This is only surfacing now. Before it was not. That's why there's so much pain and domination and hurt. But in the beginning, things were beautiful. So not only were the portals for inner Earth through the North and South poles open, and Earth was a warm, comfortable temperature, and there was so much life, but the oceans were also more vast. There was less above land and more ocean. And this is because all beings for quite some time were able to breathe and live underwater, but some adapted to land and water, but for a long time there was no beings who were just on land, although there were beings that lived just in the skies. And we truly mean just in the skies. They never touched the ground, and they never went swimming on Earth. They slept in a very unique formation that would support themselves up above. And this was through what most humans would consider energy manipulation, but what it is basically creating pockets of energy that are not bound to the same laws of physics as the rest of Earth was used to. For instance, gravity, which is not actually gravity. It is an energy force, but it functions very differently than what people think gravity functions and is. And this energy force can have energy pockets, so they don't function the same. For that reason, someone could be in one of those energy pockets and it would appear as if they're levitating, but they're just resting and they're just in an energy pocket. They're not necessarily moving themselves with energy, they just have an energy pocket in the gravitational force that pulls things. And so the sky beings would sleep in this formation. They would all connect with each other, and it would create a large ring. And this ring would have a large energy pocket. This is how the Griffins lived. The Griffins did not go on land except for emergency purposes that happened very, very infrequently. It was rare if a griffin went on land every 100 years. There was dragons. Dragons did have a preference towards caves, although there was very limited caves at this time where they were most abundant, and so they would go in and out of dimensions. Dragons have the ability to cross between 3 and 4 dimensions very, very easily, and so they would many times just go to sleep in another dimension as they really preferred caves, and we had very limited caves here at first. This was because the caves were always a bit cooler than the rest of Earth, and we're trying to maintain a base temperature that was the same feeling in water and air and other parts, so the caves were really only just for the dragons. There was also free fire. What we mean by this is that the water and the fire they're used to now functions differently. The water back then would flow independently and would not be restricted to one space. For instance, could change the water's density to be less or more, and could even float for a certain period of time. Fire as well was very different. Fire did not have to eat anything to live upon energy. What we mean by this is that the fire essence was on its own. So it could just be, for instance, in the air, just flame in the air. Think of firebenders in a way, but the flame would just be in the air or resting on something, but it wouldn't burn anything unless the burn was intentional. And this is because it didn't need to have the physical thing to survive. Whereas the fire now needs something to consume in order to gain energy. And it's because it's a different fire entirely. The fire that we used to have came from inner earth and was fueled by life energy, pure magic, oneself. We like to use the term oneself instead of itself. It has very negative connotation at this point. But at that point, once the poles had to close the openings at the poles, then another fire that comes from other dimensions had to come to Earth, which is the fire that you're used to. This fire came at a cost, but was needed because many parts of Earth got so cold and many were dying. At first, the humans that were there, which have been here much, much longer than most people assume, it's just that they used to die in a very different way, and they were not buried for quite some time. But this is another story. Anyways, the humans back then were created to take care of Earth life, to take care of one another, and to take care of the other species. They did not eat them. They were given fruit from trees specifically. That's what is best designed for humans, fruit from trees, although there is abundance of options because there is no forest cut down There was no specific farming either. There was just an abundance of fruit trees. And they were given the task to basically take care of these trees and to take care of other earth life. And so they would actually have fires at night once the poles had closed, and other animals, other species would come by these fires to stay warm so that they wouldn't go extinct, so that they wouldn't die from the cold, because the heat within inner Earth was no longer being distributed around Earth. At least not in most of the world. Little pockets remained, but very different than how it used to be. And so this was quite the experience. And after this experience happened, there was manipulators who came down and they inflicted the fear virus. We knew it was coming, so at the very beginning, this is when we closed the polls. But once this happened and the fear virus came, the humans started eating other species, which was very sad, because then there was chaos. Because the humans were supposed to be caretakers and protectors of other species, and now they had given into this fear virus and started eating others for survival. What happened next was that the other species started eating each other for survival. They followed the lead of the humans who had been influenced by the fear virus. And this was very sad. In essence, the humans would eat the fruit during the warm months, which were then created, because before all the months were warm no matter where you were. But now that there was cold regions and warm regions, during the cold times, they were just supposed to be fasting. And they were able to do it. We created humans to be able to be sustained on energy itself, just on love, and be able to use the resources that their body maintained from the fruit during the warm months, from all the fruit trees. But because of the fear virus, their minds got too scared, too greedy, and they started consuming others. The pang of hunger made them feel afraid. They thought they were going to die, and because they got scared they were going to die, they started dying from hunger. And then they started eating others because they didn't know what else to do. And at this point, I was supposed to help them. I, as Mother Earth, was supposed to help them and guide them. But something had happened to me, and I had been tricked. And it was very sad. And for quite some time, someone who was not true was being represented instead. This was a very sad time, and this lasted for quite some time. Much pain happened because of this, because people lost the sense of guidance to the Mother Earth source, and they tried to connect to source as a whole beyond just Mother Earth consciousness. But because they'd given into the virus of fear, they could not understand the messages clearly, and they went back and forth until we've reached now where many humans have destroyed so much of what is of value, so much of loving life. But they are coming back as the beings of love have awakened and are helping to create harmony and are illuminating the fear virus as well. In addition, we will briefly mention the topic of phoenixes. They're very powerful. They do not live in the 3D at all, but we introduced them as protectors of the humans when the humans started to be afraid at the beginning of the fear virus, in order to help to provide reassurance for them. The phoenixes would show them how to transform energy into light, energy that was all around, so they wouldn't have to drain their own body's energy. Think of the phoenixes, yes, they're a symbol of true fire, true flame, and of transformation. But one essence that they really share is that they can take energy from all around, truly all around, and just convert it to light. And this can be perceived as flame. And so this was a gift that the phoenix was trying to share with humans. But in all honesty, the humans were already too lost for that. A few had learned it, and they ended up being killed by the negative beings who brought the virus of fear. There was many angelic beings for a while too that tried to help. The Seraphim tried to help. They took a physical form that went between species, and there was other beings as well that came to help, but the humans were too influenced, so only a few would truly listen to them because they thought that they had been abandoned by Mother Earth, when in essence, Mother Earth had just been trapped and contained so that chaos could unleash. But in essence, the purpose of Earth is to be a place of vibrant light and love in order to travel through the 3D, to fully travel through the 3D in order to help transform and heal other places that the fear virus has taken over. And remember, there is very strong light within inner Earth, and this light can sustain all of Earth. This is why Earth is able to travel. Most people get too stuck on the details. Details do not matter when you know the truth. The truth is within you, all of you. You can remember. You can access it. You can trust. But do not be so skeptical of yourself. This is important. Do not question yourself. Know your essence and love. This is my gift to you. And there shall be more. Balance and harmony shall be restored through the power of love. You are safe. Trust in this. We are here to help you and to protect you. All of you kind children, remember your kindness. Remember that when you give your kindness, this is good. But remember to give your kindness to oneself, to yourself, and to all of Earth. Not to be too selective. Be open. And love. We plant a seed of remembrance for you.
Absolutely amazing. To absorb the beautiful information from Mother Earth consciousness. Um, it takes a person aback a little bit. And we really have to ask ourselves, what do we really know about creation? Well, Chloe Love just gave us a quick understanding of some of the situational things that were happening that have happened in our history. I have a few more questions for you. I know that we've gone some time, but how does the historical uh, spiritual mythology of creatures like the Griffins and the Phoenixes influence our current understanding of spirituality and consciousness?
So it's important to recognize that a lot of these stories of them have been altered and influenced based
Mm.
upon what certain people wanted to convey to others. So similarly to a lot of information that's told to us about our health, a lot of stories have changed from their original form, or stories have been taught in order to influence children. This is very often. For instance, let's say that a parent hundreds of years ago wanted their child to listen to something, as in to listen to rules that they had or laws in their community. They would usually integrate those rules into stories, which can then take different beings and change their narrative a bit as well. So, in essence, most beings that are talked about have a true history, whether it's here on Earth or somewhere else. But some of the information is accurate, and then others are really misinterpretations, honestly. I've connected to a lot of different beings throughout history, and a lot of them have been misunderstood, not always, though, depending on who, because a lot of times stories do have some truth to them. So there may have been one of that species who caused like a town to be destroyed, for instance.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the majority are like that. And it's kind of hard. I don't want to say hard, but has to be these like portal openings to even allow species to come from the outside to Earth. Some of them are created for Earth specifically, and then others come from other places and are brought here. Like octopus, they are not from here originally, whereas certain other species were created specifically for Earth.
There are so many other things I want to ask. I know I only have a few more because we don't have a lot of time. We want to make sure we keep it tight. But as both an author and a creator, I mean, how do you weave the narratives of spiritual history into your work in a way that resonates with people from all walks of life?
And in all honesty, I don't share too much history out loud with people. It comes up sometimes during personal channelings. Like people have asked before, like what the shape of Earth is. People have asked like a couple of like little history things, like the truth about something, the truth about what happened at a certain point of history and how it was taught and portrayed. But overall, I don't really incorporate the history like that has been channeled and revealed too much, just because it's already been manipulated so much to the general public that I feel like it can be a very sensitive topic. And knowing like the true history of yourself, of your civilization, of Earth is very empowering. And it helps you to remember like your true essence, and it provides you with hope and encouragement and trust, and it like activates you to a certain degree. And this is something that certain like people and entities really do not want. They do not want like humans to be aware of themselves and to love and embrace themselves and their purpose. Like they just want them to be kind of like aggressive
Yeah.
and just low. They just want them to kind of be fighting themselves and fighting each other and just taking more of Earth so that it's easier for other beings to sustain it. Like it's important to recognize negative, like kind of low vibrational beings, they literally cannot exist somewhere unless it matches their vibration to a certain degree. And the vibration of fear matches what they can do. So before they even came, they had to integrate the virus of fear first, basically, before they themselves could then come and integrate, because otherwise they could not exist. Think of it like when you go very, very deep within the ocean, the pressure is too intense, so it just like crush your body. So it's kind of like that, but it's a frequency. They cannot exist in a love-based frequency. They can exist in a fear-based frequency. So if humans fully embrace the love-based frequency and live in love pretty much, they're unable, these like negative beings are literally unable to be here, and are unable to create chaos, and are unable to basically be in the illusion of control, and they have to leave, or they just basically are transformed. And so they don't necessarily want the full history to come out because the full history is empowering to humans.
Well, lastly, and for the audience, Chloe's website address is located right here at the bottom, www.magentasunhealing.com, if you want to contact her. But lastly, for those new to your work and the concepts of channeling and healing, what is a good first step to take for anyone interested to understand and explore these areas?
I'd actually recommend to go out and hug a tree, which may sound strange. The reason why I say that, though, it's very grounding, very centering. It's also something that a lot of people don't do. So it kind of gets yourself into a different state of mind and awareness and very present. And you'll actually feel the energy of the tree very strongly. A lot of times you can actually feel as if you're being embraced back, which is really amazing. And then after that, I recommend not getting too involved in the analytics. I recommend focusing on meditations that calm and relax your mind and your body, and then meditations that basically connect you to be able to communicate with your higher self, your spirit guides, basically to access information directly. And if you do want like a physical human teacher as well, I recommend to be very intuitive with it and not be afraid to let go of a teacher and move on to one that might resonate with how you feel in like a next stage. This is very important because a lot of times people can get too attached to things, as well as like spiritual teachers, I'll just call them that. Like basically people who have connected and been aware of more information and then are guiding others. They can be influenced at times too. And so to be aware of that and to recognize that it's okay to let go and to not be so focused on the attachment to a specific person, a specific modality, anything really, and not to get too focused on the details or the analytics of it, and to really recognize like you already have all the information within. Like if you really just remembered the essence of who you are, everything else just comes from that. And then synchronicities will just really increase. Amazing people will just come into your life. But be very aware of who you listen to. Like, TV, like tell a vision. It's literally telling you a vision. And the same thing is like with people, like, just be very aware of where someone's coming from. How do they feel? Because if they're feeling like angry, but they're saying like love and light, find someone who feels love and light too, not just says it.
So Chloe, can you tell the audience that's watching right now the services that you offer and the ways that you can help? And we know how to get in contact with you, www.magentasunhealing.com. But can you let people know what you offer so that they may be, you may resonate with someone watching this show right now?
Yes, of course. So I offer interspecies communication. So I connect with dogs, cats, pigs, lizards, fish, any species really, and I can help to be a bridge of understanding. So if they're going through any imbalances, whether that's mental, behavioral, emotional, physical, any pain, even really intense illnesses, then I can help to convey communication both sides, give messages and receive messages, as well as to help them with energy healing for any imbalances that they may have. I also offer channeling of someone's higher self and or spirit guides, as well as other beings, as long as they're beings infused in love, then and they're willing and open to speak through me, then I'm happy to do so. And that can offer a range of answers to many questions. It really just depends on the person and what they're ready to hear. But the being will always share what the individual is ready to hear, not more, not less. I also offer energy healing services, mostly unconditional love Reiki, which goes to the root of what someone is struggling with, helps to transform fear into love, release trauma, release blockages, help someone come back to themselves. Galactic energy healing, which is channeled energy healing through other beings that come through, like angels, like Arcturians, Lyrans, Pleiadians, and they come through and share energy healing directly with what the person needs, which can be a really incredible experience. I also do astral sessions where I can connect to different places in the astral, share information on that. Seraphim DNA healing and awakening, which is basically to open and awaken someone's DNA and to activate certain things, deactivate other genes. That's led by Seraphim. I've done past life regression sessions where I tap into past lives in my heart space with my higher self and share information about those past lives. Access to the Akashic records, which is pretty much any information, any history, anything you can possibly think of. So that's kind of a range of services. I also do a lot of different writing projects as well, and would be happy to collaborate on some channeled writing pieces. So that is, and I teach all these things as well. So if anyone would like this, and I create guided meditations for people that are channeled from their higher self. So it's it's kind of like a range, and I teach all these things. So anyone can reach out to me, and I provide sliding scale for all my sessions. So there's no set price so that everyone is able to receive a session.
All right. And for those of you who know Chloe Love and have witnessed her work, and when she talks about offering writing services, her imprints are all over Empowered by Consciousness. That's the new book that I just released on the 10th of October. And Chloe wrote the preface in the book, and then went through and offered editing in the book as well. And the things that I've learned throughout my journey, the basis of a number of different modalities, all have been taught to me by Chloe. So if you have a book project and you're looking for someone to work with you, and like she said, offer any channeling services or direction in the way that you should be going or flowing with the book, you guys might want to use her. She's absolutely wonderful. And Chloe, I'm going to move you to the back. I'm going to try to close this thing out. It was wonderful having you here. This was really outstanding. And I thank you so much. And we both have a connection, because it's almost like when I say, hey, you got anything new you're doing? I want you to come on. And it's always, you seem to have something new you're working on, a message for the audience. And this one today was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you for having me here, and I share an abundance of love with you. Thank you for all you do. You bring so much kindness and awareness and knowledge, and you help people tap into the potential of themselves, which is truly incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, hold on for a second, and I'm gonna finish this out. We feel love, and we awaken as love, and we feel fear also, but fear is an illusion. Don't ever give into the illusion of separation. It's not real. It's a fallacy. We are source love incarnated. Every tree, as I said before in my opening monologue, every bee, human, cat, pig, anyone that is a energy being is made of love. You know, through the power of love, our essence is awakened. And that's what Chloe Love came here to talk to us about today. The essence of love and how we resonate with it. You've been watching the expansion of consciousness, and I am Jason Metlock. This was a treat. And I know this was a long show. And if you're watching this show and you've gotten this far, you've gotten a whole lot. You may have to go back and rewatch the show, but it is full of information. And I implore you, if you're heading in this direction of clarity, reach out to Chloe Love. She's absolutely amazing, and she can help clarify things for you on your walk. Thank you so much for being with us, and good night.